Oh, hello again. Welcome back to you faithful, and welcome to all of you new listeners. Of course, I would encourage you to, if you're a new listener, to go back to page 1 and work your way through this little booklet, Kamatthana. It's an ebook you can easily download from this channel. Today, we're on page 30, and let's see what it says. The title is Brahma Vihara. So, Brahma, in Hinduism, Brahman is the highest god of gods, and it's a word also found and used in the Pali language. We're going to get a definition of it here in just a moment. And Vihara is a house or a home or a castle or a dwelling. So let's translate one possible meaning as the dwelling of the gods, or a heavenly or saintly or pure, beautiful place for the mind to dwell. Again and again, we're always only talking about the mind. Brahma Vihara, sublime or noble, that's what I've said, even godly, so to speak. It's a mode of conduct, a state of living, radiating these qualities towards all beings without limit. So this place where we like to call home includes the precepts of not killing, stealing, etc. It's a mode of conduct, and it's a state of living. It's a state of consciousness. And it's radiating these qualities towards all beings without limit. So, in the past, we've talked about forgiveness. We've all been injured or harmed or betrayed in some way by someone in the course of our life. It's unlikely that any of us have lived very long without getting our feelings hurt. And this statement says we're going to learn how to express 4 qualities to all beings without limit, and with not only without limit, however large the universe is and however many beings there may be in the universe, we're going to not accept, refuse to share them with any being. So without exception, we want to be a being in this world that radiates these 4 qualities, because as if we live in a place of vihara that is characterized by these 4 qualities, our life will be as good as it can get. And so what are these 4 qualities that constitute a divine mentality or attitude or consciousness that radiates to all beings? The first one is called metta. It's commonly translated as loving kindness, or a more simple definition, goodwill. That which softens the heart. There is a saying, he was hard-hearted. That meant he wasn't very kind, probably full of judgments and the need to blame. And usually once that happens, there's some need to punish. I sometimes follow YouTube videos about these crime-solving videos. And sadly, so often the survivors, the family members and friends of someone who has met violent death want the perpetrator to, quote, rot in hell. And they carry this hatred and this desire to punish their whole life. And they imagine that by doing that, they are punishing the criminal, when in fact the only being in the universe who is suffering from that attitude is them. We had a quote some pages back about, I don't share the thoughts you have. The thoughts you have are yours, and they don't actually touch me. So stop imagining you're punishing me by hating me. It says, loving kindness is not carnal. Love, it's not carnal love or personal affection. So carnal love just means the way we experience pleasure on the body, in the body, calling it love, and calling that's a personal affection. That metta, loving kindness, doesn't have anything to do with sexual, sensual sensations or good feelings that may arise on the body. The direct enemy is personal affection. So the direct enemy to pure metta is the idea that I am loving, I am in love, I am sharing love, I am feeling love, all sentences that start with I am. Metta embraces all beings without exception, including oneself with all beings. So, as I've already said, there isn't anyone that we can exclude, no matter how cruel someone may have been, no matter how justified we might feel towards hating someone, that is not the practice of metta. And as I've tried to say already, when we have those feelings of hatred and revenge and cruelty towards others, we are destroying our own happiness. So we have to include ourselves in the concept of all beings. We cannot radiate metta if we don't start with a sense of being worthy of this metta ourselves. So if we were thinking about metta as money, we cannot be benevolent and buy someone a new home or a new airplane or even a nice Christmas gift if we don't have the money to do it. We may like to be so generous, but it's not possible because we don't have the finances. Well, it's the same with loving kindness. We may like to be a being who radiates loving kindness to insects, to snakes, to reptiles, to bats and rats and beings that many people find offensive or find difficult to have loving feelings towards. If we don't develop loving kindness towards ourself, we won't have a storehouse, we won't have a reservoir, we won't have a bank account that will allow us to be benevolent to others. A benevolent attitude, discarding ill will. So my example of family members and so on, relatives who are violently filled with hatred towards a criminal, they can never know peace of mind. They can never know what real loving kindness is because they are filled with a poison that is destroying their own happiness. Okay, here are 9 blessings from practicing metta. Well, it turns out we're going to get something out of this practice, and that wouldn't be a good reason to do it, but here are some descriptions of how we might be blessed the more filled with a loving kindness we are. One sleeps and awakens peacefully, is dear to humans and non-humans. So anything in the animal world, including, I guess, ghosts or beings suffering in the hell realms. The gods and devas guard him. So these are invisible beings that we're told exist, and we have in many religions the concept of a guardian angel. So here's a reference to those beings. The gods and devas guard him. No fire or poison or weapons will harm him. That's a wonderful sense of security. It's what happens when we take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. It's the only refuge that can serve as a protection to us. Or weapons, so poisons or weapons harm him. Her mind is easily concentrated. His countenance, let's call that an aura, just for the fun of it, is happy and serene. He dies unconfused. I've already told a story previously about Sariputta on his alms round seeing somebody who had a countenance of serenity and peace, and he engaged that monk in a conversation based just on what he could observe from the man's gait, the way he walked, the way he conducted himself, etc. So someone who has developed real Dhamma, a side effect, a bonus is they have a countenance of being happy and serene. He dies unconfused. This statement suggests that if we are Arhan, we're not going to suffer from Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease or other forms of mental confusion. If he does not attain Arahat in this life, he will be born in a Brahma world. So someone who has really developed this blessing of loving kindness will be at least an anagami, and when they take rebirth, it will be in a heavenly realm. And here's a reference to see the Metta Sutta on page 3 if you want to review that. The second place, the second room in our dwelling of Brahma Vihara is Karuna, which is typically translated as compassion. That which dissipates the suffering of others. Frankly, I'm going to tell a story. Yesterday I did watch one of those crime-solving YouTube videos, and the mother of the victim was on television. They were having a news conference, and she was just enraged. She was not crying. She was enraged, and she was wishing the worst possible things for the criminal. And it was so unsettling, tragic to see her being destroyed by her own thinking. So we want to dissipate the suffering of others, not contribute to it. And her goal was to increase the suffering of others. The desire to remove the suffering of others. So just wishing or wanting, desiring that others may prosper, that others may be healthy, that others may be successful, that others might win a lottery, get a promotion, get a raise, buy a new car, go on vacation. We have that feeling we're going to get to that next in mudita, but our goal is to see the universe and all beings have a more beautiful life. The direct enemy is wickedness. So I've already given example of a woman who we could say was suffering from the enemy of wickedness. The indirect enemy is passionate grief. There is a cultural expression of grief in certain cultures and in certain religions. You are supposed to have as passionate and violent emotions as possible when something bad happens. They even, some cultures rent women to express this grief publicly at the funerals, and this is not what compassion looks like for oneself or others. Karuna eliminates cruelty. We are not vindictive. There's a saying in the Old Testament, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Well, I take that to mean it's not my job to punish someone who I feel deserves it. In fact, if I understand karma correctly, I know that everyone is living out the karma that they alone have created for themselves. And when two people encounter each other or groups of people, we have these mass shootings in America now, and terrorist attacks, etc. The fact is, these are karmic. They have a karmic foundation, and it can't be different than it is. But for ourselves, we want to eliminate any form that cruelty might take. One form I have suffered from to be honest, has been passive-aggressive. I don't argue. I don't get in physical confrontations. Uh, Maybe I don't criticize, but there's can be a mental attitude of being unhappy, judging, and wanting someone to feel bad because they're not living up to my expectations. So, any form that cruelty can take, we want to eliminate that, purify it with our compassion. Mudita is the third of the viharas, and it's sympathetic joy. This is something I've never come in contact with in Western culture. And so I was grateful to hear about it and learn about it and practice it in the Buddhist tradition. It's taking delight in one's own goodness. Well, we all do that. I mean, actually, we don't, but it's easier to do, to be pleased or happy with our successes, our good luck, so to speak, and though the success of and that of others, our own goodness and success and that of others. I follow a certain tennis player. She's one of the top few tennis players, American young woman, only 20 years old, and she self-confesses to being extremely critical of herself, very disappointed in her failures, a sense of blaming, and so on. And this is all in news conferences and so on. And she began to be famous when she was only 14 or 15 years old, and now she's 20. And she's getting better and better at noticing the good things about her tennis career, when she improves some part of her tennis playing. Even when she doesn't win the tournament, she's turning her focus to the good parts instead of criticizing herself. So she's taking more delight in her own goodness and success, and she's always so complimentary and supportive of the other players that she loses to, and to the ones that she defeats. The direct enemy is jealousy. So the opposite of being grateful and really emotionally, genuinely happy that someone else got the raise, someone else won the lottery, someone else bought a new house or got married or got pregnant or whatever thing that you may have wanted for yourself or not, when you're just so happy to hear about their success, their good luck. And the enemy of that is being greedy, wishing it could have happened to you, being upset that it didn't happen to you, or how unfair it is. Two people are competing, or several, for a position or a promotion, and only one of them can get it. Well, how do the ones who don't get the promotion react? And do they backbite? Do they spread gossip? Are they mean-spirited when they don't get it? Or are they smiling and saying, good for you, maybe next time I'll get the promotion, but this time, good for you. The indirect enemy is exhilaration. So this means that sympathetic joy is not an exaggerated emotion. It's not jumping up and down. It's not screaming. It's not, quote, showing off. It's not exaggerated. It's a calm. It has a level of calmness about it. One of the problems with our vocabulary is when we use the word happiness, we, by definition, define what unhappy is. And what we're trying to do is create a mental climate where we're neither happy nor unhappy, where we've reached a state of equilibrium, of tranquility, or what some scriptures call that peace which cannot be understood from an intellectual point of view, that peace which passeth all understanding. Mudita embraces all beings. So this is being reinforced to us. We cannot omit somebody in the expression of our loving kindness, compassion, or sympathetic joy. Previously, I told a story about forgiving my father quite unexpectedly. It was, I consider it a miracle. It was a teaching that we cannot afford to harbor feelings of ill will towards any being, and at the same time expect to live a place, a heavenly place in our mind, or to get to Nibbana as if it were a place. And number 4 is Ubbeka, equanimity. To view impartially, neither attachment nor aversion. So the first of our enemies has been craving, wishing, wanting, desiring, expecting, demanding, lusting, being greedy. That's attachment. And the opposite is not wanting, rejecting, refusing, hating, disliking, etc. If we're going to be equanimous, we don't experience either of these partialities. We're neither attached and we're not, we have no aversion. It's not hedonistic indifference. This is really important. It doesn't mean, I don't care. Well, that happened to them. I don't care. That would not be compassion, and that would not be metta. So, and hedonistic means something that has to do with the body, a hedonistic indifference. It's a well-balanced mind when praise and blame, loss and gain, pleasure and pain, disrepute and fame arise. So these are these 8 experiences we have in the secular world, and that we usually have fairly strong emotions when we experience them. But in order to maintain a mind filled with equanimity, we learn not to react to either of these 2 opposing experiences, praise and blame. Well, we all want to be praised and we don't want to be blamed. And the first sentence says we need to be impartial, neither attached nor having aversion to either one of these. I have had some experiences where meditation teachers, I criticized them or I said something they didn't like, and they actually became enraged because they couldn't bear to be blamed for anything. They couldn't bear not to be praised as a great meditation teacher. So I learned, frankly, from those experiences that they were unfit, frankly, if they hadn't learned this basic teaching of the Brahma Viharas and this goal of maintaining a balanced mind. So loss and gain, well, none of us want to go broke. None of us want to come home and find our home destroyed. My own sister came home from a soccer game, watching her son play soccer, and the whole family had been there. And when they came home, the house was burned all the way to the ground. There was nothing remaining in the house. Well, that's a pretty extreme loss. The more painful losses are early deaths, maybe, or serious diseases. And gain, of course, whatever form gain takes, we maintain an equanimous attitude towards it. Same pleasure and pain. Imagine being equanimous when pain, physical pain, emotional pain, psychological pain arises. What would it be like to not claim it? To say it arises, it's a law of nature, it's not happening to me, it's subject to anicca, it's subject to dukkha, and it's subject to non-self. But normally we're all for pleasure, and we don't want it to go away. We want to cling to it. We want to do anything that brings us pleasure, and we want to do anything possible to avoid pain. The first sentence says, neither attachment nor aversion. That's equanimity. And disrepute, nobody likes to fall from grace. We all prefer to be thought of in good ways. It's similar to praise and blame, but to be notable, to be recognized, to win awards, to get promotions, to get our 15 minutes of fame, etc. That's a normal craving. But then we find out in many cases, sports figures or politicians, or it can be anyone, business people, suddenly we realize, we read in the news media that they've behaved very badly. And now their equanimity is lost entirely because they preferred being famous and not suffering any disrepute. Even though the time is a little long, I'm going to try to finish. So the direct enemy of a balanced mind, equanimity, is attachment, and the indirect enemy is callousness. Again, it's this attitude of I don't care. That's your problem, not mine. Upekkha discards clinging and aversion, the first two enemies that we suffer from, wanting and not wanting. To the degree that we become unattached to wanting and not wanting, and accepting of life moment by moment, with the recognition it can't be different. The present moment cannot be different. Thinking it should be different is the cause of our suffering. Now the next moment might be different. If we change our mind, then our experience of the next moment will be different. The experience itself, painful or pleasurable, may not be different, but our response to it will be different. Purity of mind is equanimity. Upekkha, onlooker, detached, with the wisdom which understands the laws of nature dictate all things must be the way they are, that things cannot be otherwise. Well, I already said that. I didn't know it was in the book. That sense of acceptance is not accepting defeat. It's not, what do we call it, depressing or pessimistic. It's a law of nature. It's like saying somebody should never fall down, never fall out of a tree or out of a balcony. A plane should not fall out of the air. Law of nature is there's gravity. When conditions are right, gravity's always there. It's never not there. But when conditions are ripe, then somebody or something falls down. I believe it was Newton. He saw an apple fall, and he was one of, if not the first human being to say, why did it fall? Before that, nobody asked. Okay, it fell down. That's who cares? Indifference. But Newton wanted to know, and as a result, he discovered this law of gravity, and it's a universal law. And by that, apparently, it means it applies everywhere in the universe, and it applies, therefore, to all things in the universe, depending on how much gravity there is on other planets or in outer space or whatever. So things cannot be different in the present moment, and our peace of mind, our goodwill, our compassion is only dependent on the way we react or respond to that moment. The moment itself does not need to dictate to us that we have no choice. We have a choice. We need to make it. Okay, thank you. A little bit long today. Appreciate all of those of you who stuck with it. I hope there was some valuable insights for you, and I look forward to having you follow this channel again. Thank you.